Omru pogru Guyana, uagri pogru.
As the fleeting years roll by. ashes of the past, who will rise triumphant and glorious from the ashes of the past.
Om Rupo Gayana, o Agripo Gru Padase, Mrube Naitiarom Tazentai, Mansela, Wiyum Sawila, Ze Quebratena Poro Iram Sada Ipairam Ku, Ipuku Prana Astum Korem Sa. Atu pansa pinanepu negat poiru ze quebrawi womu pampe ala pruya o ala pruya.
Guyana, I want to serve my country. Guyana, beautiful, happy, and free. Guyana, let's cooperate with our government to help develop Guyana the free. Together, my comrades, we will build a brand new Guyana, a country where all are equal opportunity. So let us begin now to show loyalty to Guyana by showing love and respect for all that it means. My brothers, my sisters, we will live and die here together. Come on to one people, one nation, one destiny. For harmonious living, cooperation will be forever. In work and play as we live as strong Guyanese. Guyana, I want to serve my country. Guyana, beautiful, happy, and free. Guyana, let's cooperate with our government to help develop Guyana the free. When it's time we settle all the regions in the interior, our natural resources are there in great quantity, and we will do farming and establish towns by the border. We'll grow more food so we could fill all Guyanese. My greatest desire is to serve my country, Guyana, and sincerely help Guyana to move along. Our government asks us that we study hard and we learn the things that will help Guyana to become strong. Guyana, I want to serve my country. Guyana, beautiful, happy, and free. Guyana, let's cooperate with our government to help develop Guyana the free, to help develop Guyana the free. Marching towards the shining future, courage high, the past is gone. Live for coming fear and counting out the glory, somewhere strong. Through the storm clouds dark and blowing, through faith like in flash and flame, on the Republic of Guyana, glorify Guyana's name. Forward, forward, youthful nation, rise with all the arms and spies. United together, our strength we will show, and build a new Guyana, a land of renown. We love you, Guyana. Yes, you be our flag we will honor, our motto will hold. Inspired by our leaders, our destiny will hold, and proudly face the future, undaunted only. From Paparino speaks of birth to Coretis the sons, where children pledge each faithful heart to guard Guyana's lands, to foil the shock of rude invader who violate her earth, to cherish and defend forever the state that gave them birth. We'll forge a nation's mighty soul, construct a nation's fame. Freedom our everlasting goal, courage and truth our aim. All kneeling in our quest for peace, like ancient heroes brave, to strive and never cease, with strength beyond the slave. Guyana climbed the glorious verge to fame, prosperity, joining the universal search for worldwide community. Your people was surrender breathe, they knew our polity, with one forever changing with all nations unity. Oh, my lovely native land, more dear to me than all the world, I see what sun is strand. Pour down upon the borders, looking out upon the deep, the great Atlantic flowed into a fury. For us sleep, at morn, at noon, or measuring the trace of sunset's glow. I love thee, I love thee, I love thee. Oh, beautiful Guyana, oh, my lovely native land, more dear to me than all the world, I see what sun is round. Pour down upon the borders, looking out upon the deep, the great Atlantic flowed into a fury. only tie everlasting bonds around us as the fleeting years roll by. My Guyana, Eldorado, my Guyana, times unfolding and for my destiny, to redeeming lasting splendor for years and lost to me, and the dawning of my glory.
Oh, yaga! Ayo, money. Oh, Lord. Like me feeling me age, yo. Oh, I don't mind, ayo. Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. How you been? How was it yesterday? How was it last night? Sounds like I'm competing with something else, right? I know. Good morning to you. Florida Hamilton, what going on in Bobby's girlfriend? Talk to me. How y'all do? What going on? How was it yesterday? How was it last night? How you feeling this morning? What is giving you hope? I'm outside again this morning. You know, they say it's better to live in a house top than in a house of quarrels. I'm not saying that my house has any quarrel, okay? I'm just remembering what they said. Good. You don't quarrel with yourself, do you? Yeah, you quarrel with yourself when you're your conscience at rat. So what going on? I was yesterday, man. Y'all talk to me. Tell me something that will lift my spirit this morning. I ain't said of my spirit down, you know. I just saying, tell me something that will lift my spirit this morning. Good. Porcis Wilson says she now awake and see the light. Well, I do. Morning, Porcis. So you do. You know, it's such a good thing. Attacking your business here, girl. I hope you mind. It's such a good thing when you can enjoy your retirement years or your vacation years. You don't have to be in the hustle and bustle. You could rock back. You could sleep till don't know when. Old people say, don't make the sun rise on you. In other words, don't sleep too late into the day when the sun is up. Or, you know, you have to get up before boardwalk wake. Because when you sleep and sunrise upon you, you just get a hard day, you see mash up and so on and so forth. But here this wisdom I got from when we were kids, children. We were encouraged to get up before boardwalk wake because many of us in those days slept on the floor. Isn't that true? How many of you know about sleeping on Crocker's bag? Huh? How many of you know about pissing your bag and then next morning you got to hang it out there to dry, catch sun, or in some cases you got to wash it first and then put it out there to catch sun. Hang out them bed in there. You piss up last night. So sometimes you got to wash your bed and hang it out so that you get a fresh bed late in the evening. Some of us out the shame just used to roll up the bed and push it. In most cases, you pushed it under your parents' bed. Right? I grew up in a family like that where all of the children had the luxury of sleeping on bed. Bed was reserved for mommy and daddy around with you. And the older brothers and sisters. Little picnic would have piss and saga for sleeper bag. Got for sleep on Crocker's bag. And the storage place of the Crocker's bag was under the bed. And so you didn't want people to wake up and jump you. You want no female petticoat over your head. You ever heard one? Yes. Don't lie down and sleep till late. Let sun rays upon you and let people walk on you. When I say when people walk on you, it's not physically walking on you. It's the fact that you're lying there, you're on the ground, and everybody's walking. Some people got to jump your head and all them kind of things. It is believed that when someone jump your head, you just get stupid. It's not so. right? I mean, the old heads here can tell me if they have ever proven those kind of things. But those are some of the quote unquote wisdom, myth or legend that I grew up hearing, right? But of course, when you're retired, when you're on vacation or you're retired, you do your thing at your own leisure, man. Especially if you're living by you. When you're living by you, you're living by you. Nobody can run your show, right? And when you're living by you as an adult, it's expected that you ain't sleeping on no ground for nobody to jump you, right? So retirement years are golden years. Retirement years are wonderful. A lot of the things you haven't been able to do when you were part of the workforce, um, you get to do in retirement years, especially if you worked, you saved, if you earned well enough to save, and you can then use a bit of that nest egg, if I call it that, a little of that savings to enjoy life. Go on a cruise every now and again. I tell y'all, good. It's important. Says she under the cherry and guava tree. She catching some fresh morning fruits, good vitamins, and so on and so forth. Good. How many of you have that luxury? Right. Or how many of us have that luxury? Right. So the thing is, you go on some cruises and stuff like that if you were able to save. And you work hard in your youth. There's some wisdom, right? Work hard in your youth so that you don't have to do it in old age. I always say I don't mind how hard I work in my youth because at the end of the day, I don't want to be at age 70 sitting at anybody's gate or anybody's front yard or under anybody's house or even in the house to say that I am working security, to say I'm a guard, right? I'd rather be the guard in my youth if it's absolutely necessary. But I ain't able to guard nobody in my old age. In my old age, I want to be enjoying life, right? I want to be able to see places that I've never seen before, do things that I've never done before. But one of the things I got to caution us older men, remember, in wanting to do things that you've never done before, don't go buy bicycle for little by ride, right? As many of us, when we get our retirement funds, we feel that we can buy the world and we can buy youth. And so, you know what is happening there? We are caught up buying bicycle for little by ride. Y'all know the saying? What does that mean? When a man buys a bicycle for little by ride, um, talk to me. Asking y'all talk to me. It's Empowerment Wednesday. So I want to share a video from PLO Lumumba with you again. And this is a message to the African diaspora. My main focus of discourse this morning, I would like to be reparation funds. What we going to do with reparation funds if we were to get it? And economic empowerment, what we can do without reparation funds as it is right now. Right? So those are some of the things I want us to talk about this morning. And I'm going to use PLO Lumumba to set the table for us. So I'm asking you please and kindly to tell me, indicate when once the video starts to play. In fact, you know what? Let me see if I'll be able to get to share a screen with you. Bear your chief. Stay tuned to the program. In the meantime, share the live, share the live, share the live, share the live. Tell everybody that Camps TV is on this morning. Guyanese morning time is on, and we are having some heavy discussions this morning, right? We are having some heavy discussions this morning. So share the live and show the number goes. And those of you who have anything to contribute to Cash App and Zelle and so on, you could do it in the meantime. You ain't losing nothing. Proceed. I'll be with you shortly.
from a good friend of mine from Liberia. And in that post, he says poignantly, why is it that Africans are so concerned in the Gaza Strip and the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, with our media houses reporting it on a daily basis? Yet there is a conflict in Sudan, which has occasioned perhaps the worst humanitarian situation, where children have not gone to school for many years. Yet there is a conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Yet there is unease in Somalia. Yet there is unease in the Amhara region in Ethiopia. Yet there is unease in Central African Republic. Yet there is insurgency in northern Burkina, Mali, Chad, and unease in Guinea. And I ask myself, what is the problem? And it is because we do not write our story. It is because we are defined by others. And as Malcolm X said famously, unless the African in the continent is respected, no black man or woman will be respected outside of the continent of Africa. There is wisdom, therefore, as my good friend Dr. Shem said, for us to begin to ask the question, who are we, to regain confidence and to regain our rightful place in the world. Nostalgically, we talk about Mansa Musa and how his pilgrimage to Mecca changed the world. We romanticize our past. But the reality is that our continent can do better, because she did many years ago. I remember reading one of the most iconic speeches ever delivered by an African in the year 1906 at the University of Columbia by South Africa's Pixley Kaisaka Seme, The Regeneration of Africa. That speech went into history, talked about the pioneering movers of Pan-Africanism, such as Sylvester Williams, such as Marcus Garvey, talked about many things, and said that Africa must regenerate. 12,000 ships took off from the western coast of Africa to the Caribbean. 12,000. 1.8 million lost in the seas. 6 to 10 million taken to the Arab world, with 99% of the men castrated. That is Africa for you.
Then after they were done with slavery, they came up with the colonial project, parceled our continent into Berlin. Then today they refer to our continent pejoratively, I suspect, French, not Bambara. Anglophone. I mean, we are speaking English, not Gikoyo, not Luo, not Uganda. Lusophone. I mean, we are speaking Portuguese, not Ovambo and Ovimbundu. Then they came and changed our names. Then at one time, they even said God could not understand our languages. God could only speak in Latin. And that is what defines us even as we speak today. So that when we talk about the African diaspora, even our gravitation is holding all factors constant to those who colonize us. If you are in Dakar, in Senegal, your true north is Paris. If you are in the Democratic Republic of Congo in Kinshasa, and you want to escape the pain in Kinshasa, is Brussels. If you are in Luanda, Angola, or Maputo, or Praia in Cabo Verde, your gravitation is Lisbon. If you are in Kenya, or Zambia, or Nigeria, or Ghana, if you don't gravitate towards London, it is Washington. Those of you who are students of science will well remember Pavlov's conditional reflex. It is alive and well. And the time, therefore, is to liberate ourselves from lamentation. We have lamented too long. We have agonized too long. The time is to give meaning to the statement made by Tanzania's Julius Nyerere on the 6th day of March 1997, when he was the guest of honor. Limu said, if Africa does not unite, there is no future for Africa. We are not talking about the unity of the graveyard where we all agree. It is unity of purpose. Many African governments have ministries of foreign affairs with an appendage called the diaspora, even diaspora desk, but they see you as they see gold mines. It is your dollar that they are interested in. It is your pound that they are interested in. It is your euro that they are interested in. They do not see the human resource that you are. As I speak to you now, some of our best men and women are outside of the continent. Our best engineers are to be found outside of the continent. Our civil engineers are to be found outside of the continent. And it's the Chinese who are building our roads, a paradox and an irony at once. That is where we are. Today, our best doctors are to be found outside of the continent. So that when our leaders in Kenya, when they want to give birth, they go to the United States. When they have a flu, they go to the United States. When they are about to die, they go to Europe and America and India. That is why Vladimir Putin is said to have said, but I doubt whether he said it, but that notwithstanding, he said to have said that Africa is only a graveyard for our leaders. We can do better. Because he has demonstrated to do better, we did. You know, many times when I think about our founding fathers and mothers, and I listen to some of them in their very unsophisticated way, some of them through music, Miriam Makeba, some of them through religion, Kim Pavita, Donna Beatrice of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Some of them through the political platform, Kwame Nkrumah, Ahmed Seko Toure, Mwalimu Nyerere, Samora, Moises Machel. Without what you and me have today, they were able to organize. When Marcus Mosias Garvey was telling people to come back home, he had no internet, no Boeing, no Airbus. When Sylvester Williams was convening the first Pan-African meetings from Trinidad and Tobago, how did he communicate? But they did it. So what must we do? You know, 2 days ago, I was invited to the Africa-Korea meeting at the University of Nairobi on the 6th of August. And I looked at the statistics that Korea, which was in her economy than Kenya in 1963, today 1.7 trillion, population of 51 million. That Norway, with a population of less than 10 million, has a sovereign fund of 1.7 trillion, and Africa Exim Bank only has a small fund of 4 billion, and we shout about it. We should shut up. In the diaspora, give or take, the statistics are known to you. But if you look at persons of Africa or African descent, no less than 250 million, second only to Nigeria. And if you look at the income that they generate every year, the good Dr. Shemu at the tip of the iceberg. The story requires that we pause. 1 week ago, I wrote to the chairman of the African Union. And told him in my letter, when you were elected, we thought you'd do better, but you have gone back to the factory setting. It is diplomatic nicety, sterile statements and speeches, jamborees, with the consequence that Africa is a forest of protocols and declarations which yield nothing. We are the only continent whose leaders are summoned. Africa-China conference in Beijing, and all our 54 leaders by private jet are in Beijing. Africa, Russia, even little Qatar and the Africa watch and the president of the States of America. The time is now for you to change. And it is people in the diaspora that have changed their societies. Look through history. The state of Israel was created by their diaspora. You have a duty. Good friend Kennedy said, and he says in his book, that every generation must find something for which it shall be known. They resisted, even if they failed. The Amazon women of Dahomey resisted. Queen Zinga resisted in Angola. Mekatilili Wamenza resisted. Shaka the Zulu resisted. There was the Hair Rebellion. There was the Maji Maji Rebellion. There was the Mau Mau Rebellion. They resisted. And there came another crop and they resisted and we regained our independence. And we lost it through some leaders who changed for the worse. What is our generation going to do? What will we be remembered for? The Ethiopians in the diaspora have financed the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. It can be done. But we must not work in the geographical entities that were bequeathed to us by the colonizers must not stand in the way of our unity. You know, in the year 2013, the then chair of the AUC in Nkosazana and Lamini Zuma wrote a letter to Kwame Nkrumah apologizing to Kwame because we refused to listen. Africa has long realized that we must do things for ourselves. When they sat in 1963 in Addis Ababa, they said we must do things for Africa. We must have intra-African trade. They repeated the same again in 1973 in Addis Ababa, repeated it again in 1908 in Lagos, repeated it again in Addis Ababa in the year 2013. We have Africa Agenda 2063 and Africa Continental Free Trade Area. They met in Kigali and said that we should move freely in the continent. They met in Yamoussoukro and said we shall open the air skies, but I suspect some of you were required to have visas before you came, or if they did not call them visas, they gave them another Christian name. But you paid some money before you came here. How can it be that three currencies and count going expecting they accept all not the mafia. So the time is now for us to do what we must. This is an intergenerational war which must be fought by us from different corners. You know, this morning I was listening perhaps for the umpteenth time to Martin Luther's sermon, A Knock at Midnight. And in that sermon, Luther King says many things, but he reminds us that unfortunately, as he was speaking then in 1960, still true today, we have now entered into a world of what he calls moral relativism. Everything is right. It depends. There are no anchors. No, not everything is right. The time is now, my brothers and sisters, for us to wake up. So when we leave here, let this not be another jamboree. When we leave here and we are reconvening wherever it will be, whether it's in Accra, Ghana, or Lagos in Nigeria, or Dakar in Senegal, or Maputo, or Cape Town in South Africa, let us ask ourselves sector by sector. There's who I met. Okay. Told she'd sold the little she had in the United America. The food of the Ghanaians, not knowing where you are going to. 9 million every year, and Kenyans boast and dance naked because we have received 2.5 million visitors. In agriculture, why is it that we are importing chicken from Brazil? Why is it sugar from Brazil? The artificial intelligence.
Okay, can you hear me? All right, morning, are you morning? Tell me if you can hear me. I, of course, we ran into some technical difficulties here, and so let's talk. We're getting there. We're getting closer to resolving these difficulties. So yeah, be strain. Right. So what do I want to talk about this morning? I said I want to talk about reparations and reparations money because it's empowerment, right? I mean, a lot of us talk about reparations. Perhaps many of us don't really understand what reparations are, right? What reparations are really, I would say, steps, measures taken to right the wrongs that people have suffered, injustices that people have suffered. It could be a nation, it could be an individual, and all, right? But when we're talking about reparations, most times when we talk about reparations to the African man against the Africans, we're talking about the African nation, and that those people were brought out of the homeland and enslaved across the world. And in Ghana, we talk specifically about Caribbean enslavement and so on, right? So when we talk about reparations, in most instances, we're talking about righting the wrongs of slavery, colonial exploitation, um, and who were the people who suffered basically at the hands of the colonial powers in terms of all of these injustices, enslavement. Some people argue that indentureship, the Indians who were brought to Ghana through indentureship also suffered, and so they too are entitled to reparation. Of course, like I said, that would be an argument, right? That would be an argument because many argue that those who were brought here through indentureship were actually paid. They were paid for the services they came voluntarily, just as how the Bangladeshis are coming voluntarily, right? And so there's that toss up, there's that fight, that thin line between whether or not indentured immigrants are due reparations because they were unjustly treated and so on, or whether or not reparations are due only to the people of Afro ancestry in these parts of the world. Good. So that is a toss up. If you ask me, the Indians came voluntarily, they entered into an agreement. The PPP government, for example, likes to talk about the sanctity of contracts. And so the contract did not provide for them to get reparations. As a matter of fact, reparations generally are paid not as a result of a contract, but a result of advantage being taken upon people. It's a way of righting the wrong. Reparative justice, restitutional justice, right? But when we talk about reparations, in what forms do you normally get reparation? If you look around the world, what forms people normally get reparation in? You can get direct payment. If it's a case of an individual being unjustly treated and the case was made for reparation, then you can get direct payment to that individual. You can also get direct payment to countries, to states, right? The reparation for its citizens, if I can say that. And one would assume that, or most people assume that it is going to come in the form of direct payments. Well, let me say to you that reparation to states especially can come as a debt cancellation. Guyana right now is, one might argue, highly indebted. Right? Winston Jordan is the man on those numbers, and so Winston Jordan can give you more clarity on that. But when we look at how the debt has been rising in this country, many argue backed by the borrowing is backed by oil money and so on and so forth, or future oil prospects, right? But the fact is, Guyana is currently highly indebted in my calculation. So when you see a finale run into the Brits and so on, and a finale and the PPP talking about reparation, one must not get the idea that they are going to be receiving cash as individuals. I'm of the opinion that the PPP would want to use Guyana's reparation, or reparation for Afro-Guyanese in this country, as a tool to try to restructure or cancel their debt. And so I deliberately choose to discuss this morning because Rhonda said yesterday everybody must get a free ticket to Africa. Right? I'm of the opinion that a free ticket to Africa is not going to change our position. It might change our outlook, but not our economic position. But most importantly, we have to start thinking about why Finale and the PPP has gotten themselves involved in this whole reparation discourse, and why they pushing for this reparation to be paid. Because one form of reparation is debt cancellation or restructuring. In instances where, and this is, I perhaps can use the Amerindians as an example here, where your lands have been taken away or you were made to develop lands by your blood, sweat, and tears, and you have not benefited from that land, you can receive reparation in the form of a land grant. You can receive reparation in the form of land restitution, land that have been taken away from you, and so on. And most importantly to a lot of people, an acknowledgement and an apology and preservation of the history, let me call it, memorialization, is also a form of reparation. As a matter of fact, I think I've heard it prior, that there are many countries, the Brits, the example, and France, the example, that has not have acknowledged that they have done an injustice to humanity, nay, the people of African descent, during the years of the slave trade and colonialism and so on and so forth. They have acknowledged that wrong. Some of them have issued an apology, but that is the farthest they are prepared to go in terms of reparation or acknowledging that they have been unjust to the people of African descent. They're not willing to pay out one dime to the people of African descent as compensation, as reparative justice for the misbehavior. So again, those of us who are of the opinion that we can get money, or money will come in our name. Yeah, money might come in our name, reparation might be paid in our name, but we are not likely to see that money or even to benefit from that money. Many might argue, yeah, once the debt is restructured or the debt is written off, you will benefit from the money because less of the country's money would be used for debt repayment. And so the possibility is that money will now be used to give more benefits, financial and otherwise, to Guyanese in terms of the quality of life and services provision and so on and social services and so on. There's no surety in that. There is no surety in that. So when we are talking about reparations and we are looking at the Ali administration and how they got their hand in this reparation discourse, we must ask ourselves, why? What's the interest? Right? What's the interest in reparation? What is in it for them? Because a lot of people like to ask that question. What is in it for them? Now, when reparation is paid, and it is paid to the people who have been affected, it provides an opportunity for those people to right the wrongs, if I can call it that, of economic injustice or social injustice, right? Because obviously, if you've been discriminated against, if you have your resources have been taken unjustly from you, like the colonials did, Guyana basically was the source of raw materials, which was used for the empowerment, right? Economic empowerment of the French and the Brits and so on and so forth. It means that Guyanese are therefore poorer for the removal of those resources from the country. Afro-Guyanese are poorer for the utilization of their services, their blood, their sweat, their tears, without being compensated. And so if reparations were to be paid to people of African ancestry, Afro-Guyanese in particular in this instance, then those resources which are made available through reparation will obviously possibly can be used to improve the economic standing of this group. But the question is, how do you use that money? Assuming it's money, how do you use that money? How do you use the opportunities for education, upliftment, identified specifically as education opportunities, identified specifically as a part of the reparation payout, if you want to call it that? How do you use it? Mr. Jordan like to say, if you got a minority and you cut it up, it can get bigger. And I want to argue that any reparation payments coming to this country, if you were to handle it piecemeal, let's say per capita, per person affected, per person of African ancestry, what you're going to find is that people get minuscule amount. Amounts that may not in any way, cannot in any way be used to really change the economic circumstances. The key to benefiting from reparations, in my mind, is unity. Unity of purpose. And so while we are arguing over the allies' government involvement in this reparation discourse, because we see it as a people of African ancestry thing, what we have to do is start to make moves to ensure that the people of African ancestry are united, even just around reparation and what should be done with reparation funds. Right? That's why I said yesterday, y'all don't tell me nothing but free ticket to Africa. If you want to go to Africa, buy your own ticket. Delayed gratification, take the lump sum reparation, invest it, maybe in a revolving fund, so that people who have business ideas, people who have economic plans, can have access to it. People who have interest in higher education, and the fund can assist them to get higher education because it will empower next generation. I think that's how the funds should be used. I think that's how the funds should be used. But like I said, you have to have unity of purpose. Not one group of people of African ancestry saying we want cash money. One group saying we want lands. One group saying we want to go to Africa. One group saying, give me the money, let we go and blast it. We have to sit as a people and agree as to how reparation funds or monies will be used to empower people of African ancestry in this country and in this part of the world. Are we having those discussions? I doubt it. I rather doubt it. I rather doubt it. Also, organizations like IPADG and AGDA and the PPP, one name, APAD, maybe all of them. right? Maybe all of them need to really sit and have that discourse as to how will we utilize the resources, whatever form they provided, through reparations. How do we? That's a discussion that we should start having. That's a discussion I recommend that we start to have. But we're talking economic empowerment. And the question is, do we sit and wait with the hope that other people will economically empower us? Do we sit and wait with the hope that other people will provide opportunities for us to be economically empowered? Or do we look around and create those opportunities for ourselves? I mentioned yesterday the square of the revolution, coffee square as we call it. And in passing, if you consider it in passing, I said, all of those people, how may I help you? Good morning. Why you just do this to me? Yeah?
But it's a continuation of what you were saying.
Go ahead, proceed.
Reparation. Everyone is talking about reparation. Are we prepared for reparation? You know, there's a saying by whites that give blacks reparation money today, and next week they're back to the same place where they are, or where they started from, or where they, put it to whatever you want to put it. It's a thing we got to prepare ourselves economically, mentally, spiritually. We have to prepare ourselves for that, because when we get this money, let's say we get money, physical money, who are we going to go and buy these things from to empower ourselves? Let's say open up business, let's say start anything. We're going to take this money back to the same people that gave this money, or their surrogates, in this case, the PPP people them. Right? So we got to start building our little businesses from now. Our people have to start supporting our little businesses from now. So when that time comes, we're going to take that same money and improve our people business and improve our business that we are intending to open, or whatever we want to use that money for. If you want to build homes, we go in and buy materials from our own people, because if we're not prepared, that money won't make any sense to us. No sense to us, because we're going to be left in the same position. And you're right, it's a collective. We have to get a collective. We have to get purpose. So this is one of the things I want to say. Yes, we want the money. You want to fly to Africa, but you go fly with American airline, whoever airline, and it's all the white man airline, and we give it back to white man. That same money go to white man, just hand me. So hand come, hand go. So we have to be very careful with what we using this money for, what we want to use this money. We have to be prepared and ready for when this money comes, to manage it properly and use it right. That we benefit, and we alone must benefit. Anybody else benefiting must only benefit percentage from it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for your interruption. Yes, thank you for your interruption. Yes, so I was saying, we're talking economic empowerment. We're projecting that, who knows, we might get some reparation money that we can use to empower ourselves economically. But are we going to sit and wait until or sit and wait for somebody else to provide the opportunities for us to be empowered? Look at what was done to Ipadichi. The David Granger administration, for the first time in the people of in the international decade for people of African descent, made monies available to Ipadichi for the upliftment of Afro-Guyanese because it was the International Decade for People of African Descent. The PPP came and the wicked man Jagdio created a ruckus and maybe got a few of slaves to support the ruckus and all the allegations and so on and so forth, and shut down the funding to Party. There's still cries and there's still calls for that funding to be restored to Party because it is seen as an organization which was using that funding to empower African Guyanese in whatever way, shape, or form, even if it was by mere education. Because it was not a funding agency. That money wasn't used to fund anything in terms of the creation of businesses, but it was used to fund educational stuff. As I want to ask a question, is education our only salvation or only solution? Is education the only solution for the Black man? What do we use our education to do? Empower other people? Be service providers to other people? Do we need a new form or a new approach to our education? An education that teaches us to utilize that education for our own self-empowerment on a grand scale? Do we need to rewrite the script that we're reading from right now? I am proposing, I'm a proponent of self-activism, if I can call it that. As I said, we got Coffee Square. I see a couple of people out there at Coffee Square set up a couple of scrubbies and things. Haphazard. Why can't one of our leaders, deep in economics or business management, business operation, business establishment, and so on, marketing and stuff like that, why can't one of our leaders take up the mantle? And y'all don't tell me do it. I ain't able. I ain't interested. I'm part of the think tank. I put the thoughts out there. People must do the work. Right? Thinking about it is enough work for me. Why can't one of our leaders, maybe better known and more respected, get among the people of African ancestry who are out there and try to organize them in a real way so that they can utilize that space for real economic growth, but not only economic growth, but also for the proliferation, if I can call it that, of their Africanness. Why can't we create a space out there and market it to the world as a place to go to in Guyana when you want to see Africanness on display? I don't think it will take a lot of work, but I know it will take work. I said yesterday, my understanding is that that space falls under the control of the Office of the President or the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture. Somebody can educate me as to which agency really has control over that space. And so in organizing people of African ancestry to utilize that space out there, we must also be organizing for pushback. Right? We must also be organizing for pushback because the fact is we've seen when our single mothers and single fathers and people of African ancestry started commerce, as I want to call it, service provision on the seawalls of Kingston and thereabout. Yeah, Denise, I know you want to come there. Tell me I should start getting the ball rolling. It's only one of me see that. Right? When those people started enterprise on the seawall there, it became a popular stuff. spot, and they were quickly pushed away. They were quickly pushed out of that space. Now what you got is bourgeois, right? The Nova rich take over the thing. Under the label of the first lady, this and the first lady that. Right? Over under the first lady, this and the first lady that. An unofficial office, because no provision has been made in the law of this country for first lady office and first lady this and first lady that. But the constitutional people, the legal people, I don't see anybody challenging it. Maybe they're comfortable with it. I'm not comfortable with it, but everybody must live the weight or live according to the capacity. Right? So I'm saying some African leader, some Guyanese, Afro-Guyanese leader needs to get involved, get the people organized, and get them to organize themselves properly on that space there to promote the Africanness and to promote the economic growth. Good? And I generally, y'all should know by now, I generally don't talk the things, I also do the things. I'm happy to report, should I be reporting? I'm happy to report that the $1 Million Club is up and running, and the $1 Million Club is strong. So far, there have been 2 persons who can say, well, they have received real capital in their hands to go and empower themselves economically. Right? The rest is on them. The rest is on them. Right? So every 3 weeks or so, somebody gets solid cash to invest in something that they believe in and they know can work for them. Of course, they're always free to call on me for guidance and so on. Right? Good. So we're talking. Under the Granger government, I think there were 2 occasions when there was a big market, Sunday market, organized on the Square of the Revolution. And that wasn't for African Guyanese only. It was for Guyanese. Now that the PPP is not organizing a big market on the Square of the Revolution for anybody, can't our African organization, our African Guyanese, get together and organize, starting 1 day a week, brick by brick, starting 1 day a week or twice a week, a big market on that square there to promote the produce from the Afro-Guyanese community and Afro-Guyanese producers. What will it take? Those people were plying their trade out there on a daily basis because, like I said, I see a few persons out there haphazardly, if I can say that, doing things. Can they be organized, given direction, and promoted so that others can see the vision of utilizing that space for economic empowerment? If you want a good African Creole food, you must know, for example, hey, I can go to that square there and I can get food. Good quality food, authentic Afro-Guyanese cuisine. And with that, I want to remind you that if you're looking for good Creole food, you can check outside of John Fernandez in the mornings between 6:30 and maybe 9. There's a lady in a car out there, uniquely centered catering, Creole catering, uniquely centered Creole catering. I know every day she makes saltfish and bake. Most days she does pot bake, what we call Buddha. with different fillings, whether it's cheese or whether it's eggs, whatever you want it with. But she's out there. Every day she makes porridge, real top of the line porridge. Think I'm gonna build your back, right? What else she does on a daily basis? But every day you can go out there and look for that lady in the car. I think it's a white car. Uniquely centered catering for authentic Creole Guyanese cuisine stuff. We must find a hub for our people of African ancestry where they can go and do their thing and we promote them. Morning. A lot of them may not have the resources to pay for advertisements. A lot of them may not have the resources to pay for advertisements because they're small businesses. And that's another thing I want to talk about. Mindset. How do you see yourself? Because if you talk to a lot of them about advertising, they will tell you they can't afford to advertise because they have small businesses. But if you do not advertise, how do you grow your business? How do you bring clientele to your business? And so can somebody take up the challenge of going there and documenting all of the businesses out there and doing one grand advertising campaign for them? One advertisement. To say, if you're looking for this, that, the other, and the next, we have XYZ and people out here on coffee doing it. Is one Harriet Wilson now. Harriet is doing you. Right? Wonderland, if it's you and Harriet, please don't start no fighting. Yeah, stop. Right? Yeah, stop it. We're having discourses, not war. Our leaders, political and other, have to understand that we are in a different era where politics alone can't do it for the African man in this country. Right? Our leaders, political and otherwise, have to understand that we have to build up a nation of people who are economically strong and who can contest economically. Not necessarily in the areas that are already dominated by the other people. Because when a market is dominated by other people, they form cartels and they do all kinds of things to ensure that they keep you out of those sectors. But there are lots of sectors, in my mind, there are lots of sectors in this society that our people can pioneer in and succeed. When Granger said, y'all start cocoa business, y'all start planting chip business, and other small businesses, as I want to call them, a lot of people fussy, including some of our own. Including some of our own. But look around you, and you will see, I want to send you into the supermarkets. I want to send you into the supermarkets, and you're going to see plantain chip, mitai, hard chana, as they call it, crack chana, chicken foot. You're going to find those, let me call them Creole snacks, in supermarkets and major supermarkets, and check the labels on them. And you will come to understand the very people who laughed and made a mockery when that advice was given are the people who are dominating in the supermarkets with those products. Right? Those are the people who are dominating with those products. Why? Because we allow others to think for us. We allow others to influence us in a negative way, right? While planning to dominate the very things that they encourage us to stay away from. It's a psychological thing. We got to understand that we got to fight a psychological war here. You know, you and your partner walking down the road and you see a Beanie. You all know what I'm talking about, Beanie, a nice young girl. Say, she looking good, boy. I could try to tackle there and your partner tell, buy one to you, buy like you stupid over you and tackle though. Duh? Buy like you know it up on over. And you take his advice in 2 mornings after you see turn up with the same person that he dissuaded you about. The same person tell you ain't worth your time. Tell you they ain't worth your time because in his head, he wants the advantage. He has his eyes on the same prize that you have your eyes on, except that the fact that you had the idea first, he got to find a way to convince you that it's a bad idea so that he can clear the path and go forward. And those are things that we have to understand. Our leaders have to sit and talk with our people, very small, these people who see themselves as small business people and believe that they can't get any bigger. We have to sit and talk with them and show them a path to getting bigger. Let me tell you something. I ain't singing the PPP praises. I will never sing the PPP praises, but I will share information that is available from them. The PPP is talking, the Ali government is talking about a development bank in this country. It might be operable already, I'm not sure. But they're talking about a development bank in this country where small business and other business people can go to get financing at low or no interest rates. No or low interest rates for the growth and development of their businesses. Our leaders have to get that information and get all the ins and outs to getting that money and sit among our people, go among our small business people and whisper in their ears what they need to do to get access to that money. And not only do they need to do that, but they need to be on the forefront, blazing fire on the government to ensure that the people that they're sending to get this money from the government are not given a hard time and are not discriminated against. In other words, like you say, forewarned is forearmed. We have to start to sound the bell loud and clear that we know you are going to discriminate against our people, but we're going to stand for it. We're going to stand with our people, and we have to encourage our people to apply for this financing in whatever way, shape, or form it is available en masse. As a united front, 40 y'all interested in block making, What y'all apply for the money to do block making? What y'all interested in saltfish making, smoked fish making? What y'all apply for the money to do saltfish making? And sometimes we have to move away from. So Jan James is saying that the development bank is already up and running, and fisher folks don't get their grant. Where are our leaders organizing our people to get their grant? Whether it's cattle farmers, whether it's swine farmers. I think we constantly hear that rice and fish for the Indo-Guyanese is like swine to the African man. Good. And so our people, our representatives, our leaders have to not only talk about the politics, but they have to do the economic research and point our people in the directions where they can get economic benefits. My information tells me it's minutes to 9, 17 minutes to 9. I want to open up the lines a few. My information tells me that the Guyana Livestock Development Authority, GLDA, that's where the country's cattle farmers get their support from. That's where they get grants from. That's where they get stock from. That's where they get stock to improve their stock from. Right? But you know what? In many instances, the African man can't walk into the GLDA and get the benefits that the Indian man can get from GLDA. In many instances. And in many instances, my information suggests, it is alleged, let me say that, the real, what I want to say, hardcore stock from the agency is distributed in the dark of night. In the dark of night. My information tells me that the people from Barbies will turn up at the agency midnight. And this when the top of the line stock is loaded for them to carry back to Barbies on their farms or elsewhere on their farms. When the Afro-Guyanese turning up their clean to apply for this and ask for that and ask to buy that and beg for that and so on and so forth, arrangements are made through the PPP and the PPP friends and cronies and the agriculture minister and so on and so forth. For this top of the line stock to be distributed to Indo-Guyanese, especially in the dark of night, so that they get superior productivity and lock those of us who are struggling in the market to get good quality produce. Our political leaders have to do that kind of investigation and bring it to the fore and challenge the authorities. And fight tooth and nail to right the wrongs. There's so many stories I can tell you. Our politics has to be different. We can't do politics without economics. We have to consistently work with our people to organize them to get the economic benefit even from a PPP government that is illegitimate and discriminatory. Otherwise, a couple years from now, we are going to see the gap even wider, and we still talking about politics of old. Somebody is talking about Mocha. I got my own view on how those things should be approached and dealt with. But again, what are the views and the approach of our political leaders? I see what his name, GSK took a shot at Terence Campbell, because Terence Campbell is the leader of the APNU business in the National Assembly. And according to GSK, he's on good footing, he's doing the right things. But one leg is missing. Unless he's prepared to talk about street protests, then he's wasting time. And I've been saying that since I was a boy. Unless our leaders are prepared to take to the streets to demand what is considered fairness and justice for people, all we're doing is wasting breath. I hear people start talking about local government elections. But I hear they talking about street protests to ensure a clean voters list and biometrics, etc., etc. So for me, what they're doing is waste breath. And I tell you already, I ain't gonna be involved in that breath wasting and time wasting event. When we're prepared to do what is absolutely necessary, then y'all could call. In the meantime, I'm going to continue to look for those economic opportunities and talk to my people about them and empower them. Like I said, so far, from the $1 Million Club, 2 persons have already gotten access to real cash that they could invest in expanding their businesses. In another 3 weeks or so, other people are going to be receiving real cash to expand their businesses. Even as I sit here, there are about 20 young persons, mostly females, some of them single parent, who are now empowered because they are producers of a particular, they're producers and participants in a particular economic venture. I don't want to point out what the venture is because I know what the challenges will be thereafter. Right? But the reality is, I am not going to sit here and talk politics. I'm not economics. I will talk politics, I will do politics. But simultaneously, I will look for economic employment opportunities for our people, and I point them in that direction. So this morning, I want to tell you, pay attention to the fact that there's a development bank and they got enough money. You play your part so that all the money don't go in one direction. I don't care if you don't like the PPP. I don't like them. I don't trust them. But it's not their money. Apply, or you should apply to the relevant agencies to get access to that money, because here what happens is you and your next generation gonna have to pay it back. You and your next generation will have to pay it back. So if you got to pay it back, you might as well get your benefits from it. How do you get your benefits from it? Establish your small and micro businesses, have them registered at the deeds registry. Get your compliance from GRA, get your compliance from NIS, join the small business bureau. There's a small business bureau. Join the small business bureau. They provide training free. Get all the training you can get, and they provide financing too. Once you get your training, apply for your money. Apply for your money. Or let them tell you ain't getting it. And when they get a hard time to get your money, when they give you a hard time to get your money, then your political representatives must take to the streets or the necessary platforms and raise your concerns about the difficulty they're giving you to get your money. That's my recommendation. That's my recipe for success. Regularize yourself, because if you're doing business, you should be registered as a business person with the necessary agencies. One of the important agencies in this country now when it comes to small business is the Small Business Bureau. Because once you're registered with the Small Business Bureau, there's a law that says small business people are supposed to get, or small contractors, for example, are supposed to get, I think, 20% of government contracts. Whatever form the contracts take, 20% should go to small business people. But if you're not registered with the Small Business Bureau, how then do you get recognized as a small business? Get registered. It's not difficult. You need help? Call Mr. Amsterdam. I can guide you through the process. You have charge usually. I don't charge people to do these things. But sometimes they just come and say, yeah, put some contribution and we got to do this, so you got to contribute to it. Good. It's 7 minutes to 9 o'clock. I will open the lines to 10 minutes. So the lines are now open. It's Empowerment Wednesday. I hope I've given you some empowerment. I've given you some food for thought. I've given you some guidance, and I hope you're going to make good use of it. If you think of value to you, you could cost me. The lines are open. 6225933 is the number to call. Leon, good morning. Leon, good morning.
Yes, good morning to you and all my black brothers and sisters in Guyana. First thing first, I am responsible for what I said, not how you guys interpret it. I cannot say much this morning, but why I call in, I want to give credit to the last caller yesterday. He said, oh, the last caller, he said, good morning to you, Mr. Amsterdam. It's my first time calling. But the names that we call after, he said, I thank our love to hear Randalane and Flat Garden, because when they talk and they keep this program going, I want to give you credit for that, young man, to acknowledge the work that we put in this program every day. I start the second month when this program starts. We got a date right now, up to this day. When I said I'm going to drop out because the harassment, because of me, to Mr. Amsterdam, I said I would leave this program because I built it and I want to destroy it. Randalane sent me a voicemail. She said, Flash, stop your nonsense. I cannot do it alone. We need you, Flash. Don't make them bully you off. And he just say, I respect her for that. And when I heard this young man use that word yesterday, the brother that died, our loving brother pastor, he said, Flash Garden is not racial. It's not flesh and blood. It's God telling him to say that. Robin come after and said, leave us alone. I want to hear his opinion. Why? Because we all are one family to the end of the day. We may have our difference, but we have to continue to unite and be the keeper of each and one of us black people. It's like right now. A young man from Dalansdale, he said, I prayed, Flash. He said, Flash, when you come home, I got to meet you. We have to be careful. And one more thing before we go. The young man who talking about playing and keep back the white man the morning, I will drop peace to you. 2015, government. They would bring the government. Our man, we love to call him because you must know who has gotten talked about. Our man said loud and clear. We, the government, is not going to bring back any plane. No plane service. I talked about it. This is a politician talking. Did you know that bringing back even one plane in your country, you create jobs for your people them. You're killing two birds with one stone. Also, you're bringing in revenue for developing the country. So if that black man we bring back one plane, our money would have go back to our Guyanese plane. Thank you very much for your time. The time is short.
Thank you for your call. I see persons are saying, I asked you to send me the information about $1 million club how long ago, and you never responded. You got wanted bad enough. You got wanted bad enough. And when I say you got wanted bad enough, all I'm saying is, if I didn't respond, then you should have on the case like barnacles. Sometimes I don't remember to do everything that I'm supposed to do when I'm supposed to do it. Right? But we are going to come with another $1 million club in the new year. This one goes up to the end of the year. And so this is our test tube, baby, let's say. I can call it that. And it is going smoothly so far. Not good, I say. And we can do it again next year. And we will have good reports to you so you can be confident in joining. I intended also for us to do a smaller susu or do smaller susus. But so far, I'm not, I'm being very honest, I'm not from the energy to organize it. I'm not from the energy to organize it. Sometimes, like I say, don't give me more work. It's me alone. It's me alone. Right? Sometimes it's good to be a Lone Ranger, but it also has its toll on you. Yeah, don't give me more work. Yes, I think I see a voice note. Let me play this voice note. There will be lots of opportunities for you to participate in things organized by bees. And I've also issued, long ago, we issued a link to the membership forms, and you're encouraged to join bees, even as an associate member, even as a person who can share ideas with us, even as a person who has a skill that you can impart to others. Join bees. Right? When I get the replacement computer and I can work freely, I will repost the link to Facebook and so on, and so that you can follow up and join. And I don't know why I feel harping on this thing and bringing up this thing ever so often, because I want to play with this side here. So, but it is really affecting my productivity. Right? It is affecting my productivity. I can find a link for bees membership form and post it to social media on my phone. I'm not that verse. Caller, you're on. Good morning.
Good morning, Brother Kadapti. Good morning to the viewing audience. This is Israel Garden, the guy, the last guy that called yesterday morning.
Yes, proceed.
Yeah, good morning. You know, I went out, I came back in this morning, I hear you were making reference to reparations and economic empowerment of the African man. I want to say this morning, right? That in 1919, there was a plan by the British Guyana government, the government of India, and the monarchy of Great Britain to make Guyana a colony of India. Now, when you look at these things, Brother Kadaki, I want to say this, right, is that between 1838 and 1850, which is 12 years after the African man has gained his emancipation, our people spent $2,250,000 in acquiring lands in this country. The first purchase of land was done Plantation Northbrook, and that year was $10,000 was being spent on that, which was 500 acres of land. I want to say this, Brother Kadaki, is that the African man in Guyana have to understand something, is that the colonial masters never had a plan for him here. He was never part of the plan of Guyana. But as times go by, we recognize that there were challenges back and forth and things were being put into place. You know, the African man had to reposition himself as part of the Guyanese society. But when you look at it, we have faced the most terrible of conditions moving from emancipation, pre-independence, and post-independence. We have seen where the African man had to be working time and time again harder than everybody else to prove his worth. Now, my thing I'm saying today is that we, the African man, need to understand what were the foundations that were being laid by LFS, Barnum, and the others for us. For example, when Barnum looked, he said, you know what, the African man in Guyana doesn't have the capital like everybody else. So what we're going to do, we're going to open co-ops. He turned and he said, let us look there at preserving the ancestral lands for the African man that he can utilize it then now to develop himself economically. Then what we had there now, we had the People National Congress. We can say the WPA also, who were voices of the oppressed, and to the extent they had 15 and beyond. They now come and they start to what? They strike co-ops. Then they went into parliament the other day, and what they fought for? The destruction then of ancestral lands. The last thing leave for them to destroy is the PNC, which is the voice of the African man, really predominantly African man on the landscape of this country. So the African man needs to sit down at this time and ask himself the hard questions. Where do I fit in? What is my plan? Am I included? Because I want to say this, Brother Kadaki, is that all of these institutions that were being put in place to the empowerment of the African man, it is being diminished, it is being trampled upon. Look at the Guyana Public, the Cooperative Credit Union, what they got there, we got Brother Trevor Beck, he took over leadership. And why he was there, he made sure that Afro-Guyanese are the working class and predominantly public servants had access to cash and do other things. You recognize how the government fought that man tooth and nail because why the Credit Service Union was doing good for people that the government itself wasn't doing for the ordinary man. So when we look at it, when you go down in town, you got on the Avenue of the Republic a Bank of Baroda. The Bank of Baroda is a bank that now that was given to the government again from the government of India, who benefits tremendously from the Bank of Baroda. So while you see the Bank of Baroda, where is the Bank of the African man? We are the most consumers in this country. We keep spending, but we don't have nothing to trap our finances. So we have to come back there now to the grassroots level, preserve our ancestral land, and trap our money like how the Jews trap their money. Because when you don't have no money, nobody respects you. So even though we are intelligent, we don't have the financial power like the Indians in this country. That is why we're being disrespected as a people, because we don't have the money to call these shots. But once we start to trap our money and empower ourselves at the community level, we will be able then now to reposition ourselves economically. Nobody is going to do it for us. Nobody is going to do it for us, and we have to wake up. This is a time for an awakening. This is a time for an awakening. We could preach like Peter, Paul, and Silas, but if we are not doing the necessary groundworks to position our people economically, we only wasting time. But how can we do it? We have to sit down and have those hard conversations. Can we do it? Yes, we can. Over to you, Brother Kadaki. I'm up and out.
Thank you for your call. And like I said yesterday, I think it's a good time to close the program, but I can't just yet. I see Dennis Carlson shouting out Pepe Links car rental for a quality service. I want to endorse that shout out. I want to endorse that shout out to Pepe Links car rental service. A young man that has taken on the provision of this car rental service in a serious way, very, very, very serious way. Denise has shared our experiences on the chat there. You can go and read about it, right? And usually anything I try to promote on CAMS TV is of quality, because I don't only promote them. These are people who I have their ears. I can talk to them about what is right, what is wrong, what is not proper, and what they need to improve on, and so on and so forth. And so with that kind of thing, relationship, I can say to you, beyond the shadow of a doubt, I've seen a lot of our micro business people grow and continue to grow. And I will continue to point them in directions that will ensure even more growth. So we are on a good trajectory. Call it on.
This morning we're discussing the upliftment of African Guyanese. But this morning I want to reach out to all African brothers and sisters listening on your program to take an example from Brother Kadaki. Brother Kadaki grew up poor in Buxton. He educated himself, and look where he at today. He educated himself, I guess, under the PPP tenure. And every single day he's trying to open new business. And today I think Brother Kadaki is in a good place in his life. So use Brother Kadaki as an example, brothers and sisters, to uplift your life. I want to thank you so much for taking
You know, sometimes I laugh, sometimes I smile, because y'all would never bring me to tears, not easily. You know, these people who like to piggyback, um, these people who like to piggyback on other people's quote unquote successes and claim it for themselves. Shame on you. Lucky B says skin your BT and the enemy. I like it, you know. I like the term because it sounds distasteful, but like I said, it's the ultimate form of protest. Them big people on this program could understand. I'm gonna repeat it, they could understand when somebody skin the BT point, yo, distasteful, how nasty is that form of protest. And this morning I encourage you all skill the BT on this one, man, and the PPP. Because let me tell you the truth. I'm a Barnum child. And this individual knows I'm a Barnum child. Educate myself under the PPP. You think there's no child left behind education could have made me such a wronged individual that I can help to empower my people? Y'all talk to me. Y'all think this really this no child left behind education could really, right? Mortimer McIntosh, please and thank you. I would be happy if you inbox me, WhatsApp me 622-933, so I can send you the relevant information. Like I said, it's not easy for me to multitask doing the live on a phone. I can't do it. It's stressful. So if you WhatsApp me on 622-5933 after the program, I'll give you that information, right? Good. Back to this thing while I'm closing. I wasn't educated under the PPP. I'm a Barnum's child. Most of you who have been with the program since I was a boy would know my age. Right? I was born in the early 70s. And so I got my education in Barnum time. I wrote CXC, I wrote common entrance in the Barnum time. I went to St. George's Primary and I wrote common entrance. I went to Richard Ishmael Secondary and I wrote CXC. I came to Annandale Secondary and I repeated. When I repeated, I sat CXC math. I'll tell you that story. Because I was allowed to do all of my other subjects at CXC except mathematics. I see sometimes when we black people got power, we just use it in the wrong way. I was a Granger too. I can't remember the name of the chap, but he was a Granger. I'm sure he was a Granger. Big red skin banner, big muscles, and so he was a student of UG, maybe final year student. Used to come to Richard Ishmael and teach mathematics part-time. And like now, you used to have to get the teacher's signature, the subject teacher's approval before you can write the subject. That time I do lessons at Buxton, lessons placed with Guyana, Brother Guyana and Dion Abrams and Corbett Victorine and things. We got a free lessons going on there. I was a beneficiary of that. During those years, I taken lessons while teaching lessons. And this man teaching simultaneous equation, and he's not getting it right. Simultaneous equation has varying approaches to solving it by quadratic equation, by substitution, by elimination. There are varying methods, right? And this man struggling on the board. I was a backbencher. And I sat down in the back of the class and said, sir, you're doing the thing wrong. X, Y, Z, you gotta do it. I mean, hindsight is 20/20 vision. The man stop and the man watch me with some serious contempt and he say, you know, no? You know, all right, we're gonna see who know. And he made his corrections and he got the it was solved and so on. And when it came to signing me up for CXC math, the man refused to sign me up. He said I wasn't ready. At that time, Dion Abrams, my cousin, was one of my maths teacher at the lessons place there. Dion went to the school and engaged their teacher. At that time, it was either Barbara Semple. I think it was Miss Semple, yes. Vilma Lynch had gone on retirement, I think, by that time. Or it was Vilma Lynch. No, it was Vilma Lynch. Barbara Semple was perhaps deputy at that time because Barbara Semple was my English language teacher at that time. Right? And so Dion went and engaged Vilma Lynch. And Vilma Lynch said, listen, you might be teaching him at lessons and so on, and you know his ability and so on, but in this school, wherever the maths teacher say, goes. Whatever my teachers say, that is what I work with. And the maths teacher say, you ain't ready, you ain't ready. And I share that example for many reasons. Number one, those educators stood their ground. They stood their ground. In them days, education officers can't go and make no rings around school administrators. They were allowed to do their work. And number two, because a little feelings of mine make I wasted another entire year in order to write CXC. It might have been a year or a few months to get my mathematics CXC qualification, certification, whatever like. Good. So I ain't get no education under the PPP. Put in your pipe and smoke it. When I went to university again, I went to university again because the Bornham government, they make university again free. Anyhow, I'm done with that for now. But, you know, our morning just has to always come and try to make a case to the PPP. It doesn't work so, bro. It does not work so. And you telling the world I grew up poor and so on and so forth. We weren't rich, but neither were we poor. I didn't grow up with gold spoon in my mouth, but I never used to hungry. We never used to hungry. My father was a farmer and he was a sea defense worker. Right? When my mother decided that she didn't want to be a housewife anymore, well, technical housewife because she used to sell my father's produce. She joined the public service and she worked with State House. Good? We didn't poor. Things a little tight every now and again. I used to go to school with a dilapidated boots, so. But I would credit my parents for the kind of person I am right now. The motivation I have right now. Because they have set examples for me to follow. You all have a great day. I will share those examples. I will share those experiences. I will continue to encourage my people. Because, let me use this one. Moses, go down, way down in Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. I believe that our people must be liberated in this country. And they will be liberated. I will continue to do the work to contribute to that liberation. Man and I, have a good day. Tough love. is love too. And I love you from the bottom of my heart. Y'all have a good one.